The assassin dropped from the rafters with a blade already swinging, and the human set down a second teacup because he had been expecting two, and only one had arrived on time. "You're early," Perrin said. "She usually sends the quiet one first. Sit. It's still hot." The assassin, a lean, coldly handsome man in oiled leather, half his face wrapped in gray cloth, did not sit. He stood in the princess's tea room with a knife in his hand and confusion spreading across the visible part of his face like a stain. Brass lamps, velvet the color of dried blood, porcelain on oiled wood, steam rising in two thin ribbons. "Where is the princess?" the man said. Not a question. Assassins rarely ask questions. "She's asleep," Perrin said. "She sleeps badly, so keep your voice down." He poured. The tea was dark and smelled of smoke and something like plums. "You've come from the 9th chapter. I can tell by the rap. They still teach the rafter drop. Charming. Very traditional." Princess Sennewa of the Valma line had hired the wrong human. Everyone agreed on this. Out of 9 candidates, the assessors ranked him last, dead last of 9. No combat training, no augments, no weapon he'd admit to. He scored, the report noted, with something close to disgust, unusually high in tea. She hired the last man on the list and sent the other 8 home. The court called it grief. Her mother had just died. Grief made princesses foolish. The assassin's name was Dovek, though Perrin didn't know that yet, and Dovek was already staring at the second teacup. "Who's the other cup for?" Dovek said.
"You. The first one's mine. I poured it first so you could watch me drink. That way you know it isn't poisoned." Perrin drank. "Sit down, Dovek. I didn't tell you my name." "No, your left boot did. Maker's stamp on the heel. Ostrin of the Fenwick district. He takes 6 clients a year and keeps a ledger, and I've read it, because Ostrin owes me a favor. 6 clients. 4 are dead. 1's a woman. That leaves you." Perrin nudged the cup an inch across the wood. "You take it without sugar, please." Dovek sat. He would spend the rest of his life failing to explain why. The Valma court sprawled across a red dust plateau, all warm stone and verandas where the wind kept the heat moving. The Valma were a tall, violet-skinned people, graceful, vain, and very good at politics, which is the same as saying very good at killing each other quietly. Sennewa's uncle wanted the throne. The throne required Sennewa not to have it. The math was old and simple, and it was why, on the worst nights, men came out of the rafters. The contract, Perrin said, was drawn by a man named Corvain, who runs the 9th chapter's ledger the way a spider runs a web. Corvain told you the princess ordered your sister's death. That's why you took this one for free. You don't work for free. Dovek's hand tightened on the cup. "How?"
"Because that's the only lie that works on a man with a sister," Perrin said gently. "It's the oldest hook there is. Grief makes people foolish. Ask a princess." He refilled the cup Dovek had somehow already emptied. "Your sister is alive. She's in the salt town at Marin Reach, and she thinks you're dead, because Corvain told her that too. He tells everyone their people are dead. It's easier to spend a man who has nothing left to lose. I have the letters. You can read them, or you can call me a liar, but you can't do both, and you've already had 2 cups of my tea." There was a long quiet. The lamps hissed. Beyond the wall, a princess slept badly. "You could have called the guard," Dovek said finally. His voice had gone strange. "You could have had me killed." "I could have," Perrin agreed, "but then who'd tell your sister you were coming home?" That was the night the first one retired. By morning, Dovek stood at the veranda in a borrowed gray coat, pouring tea for a princess he had come to murder, and the second assassin arrived, to find the first one already employed. They came for 6 weeks after that, and it became a grim joke that got less grim each time it was told. You did not send men to kill the Valma princess. You sent them to be hired. A poisoner put down her vial when Perrin explained the antidote was already in the wine she'd been sipping all evening. I make it a habit, he said, to poison my guests slowly against the day someone tries to poison me. You've been immune since Tuesday. Have a scone. She stayed. A garrote man came and left as the head gardener. The court stopped counting.
Sennewa watched all of it from her window, chin on her folded arms, and smiled the small private smile of a woman whose plan is working exactly. Because here is the thing the Assessors report left out. The thing Corvain the Spider did not know until it was far too late to matter. 40 years earlier, at the edge of a war that would have burned 3 systems to slag, a human had walked unarmed up the boarding ramp of a Veil Fleet dreadnought with a pot of tea and no authority whatsoever, and come back down 11 hours later with the war folded small enough to fit in his coat. They never released his name. The archives listed him only as the Envoy, and the histories said he had died because it was easier to spend a legend who had nothing left to lose. He had not died. He had gotten tired. He had wanted more than anything, a small warm room and a table, and something quiet to do with his hands. Sennewa's mother had known him. Dying, she had told her daughter one thing: when they come for you, and they always come, do not hire the strongest hand. Hire the one who ended a war without lifting one. He'll be at the bottom of every list they give you. That's how you'll know. Sennewa had ranked him 9th on purpose. She'd written unusually high in tea herself. You knew, Perrin said, the morning it finally came out, when she stopped pretending to read and just looked at him. The whole time, you knew who I was.
I knew who you'd been, Sennewa said. Her eyes were enormous and dark and very tired, and not tired at all. I hired who you are. She turned her cup a slow half-circle on its saucer, the way he'd taught the others without seeming to teach them anything. My mother said you'd want a quiet room and a table. I gave you a war instead. I'm sorry. Don't be. And for one moment, the only one, the mild, pleasant nothing of his face broke, and underneath it was a man who had carried too much for too long and been handed, absurdly, exactly the right weight. It's the best job I've ever had, and the tea here is genuinely excellent. Corvain sent one last man, the best one, the expensive one, the one who worked in daylight and never missed. He walked into the tea room at noon and found 9 former assassins along the wall in matched gray coats, a princess reading in the window light, and an unassuming man with kind eyes and a bad knee setting out a 10th cup. There's a chair for you. There's always a chair. Corvain lied to you about the fee. He's paying you 1/3 of what he told the others. I have his ledger. Would you like to see it? Or would you like tea? The 10th man looked at the ledger, then at the chair, then he sat. Down in the salt towns and the quiet rooms where killing gets arranged, they no longer say the Valma princess is protected. They say something worse. They say if you take the contract, you don't come home. You come home wrong, in a gray coat, smelling of smoke and plums, unable to explain what happened to you. They say the most dangerous man in 3 systems is a butler with a bad knee, who has never once raised his hand. They say no blade works on a man who simply pours you a cup and waits and is right about your sister. The assassin drops from the rafters with the blade already swinging. The human sets down a 2nd teacup because he has been expecting 2, and 1 is always early. You're early, he says. Sit. It's still hot. 1 year later, Corvain himself climbed down out of the rafters, out of men, and asked if the position was still open. It was. He runs the ledgers now, honestly, which he finds unbearable, and does anyway. If this warmed you even a degree, take a second to like and subscribe. It genuinely means the galaxy to this little community. New story tomorrow. Tony.